groovy.
Welcome back. It's summer slasher week, so grab your sleeping bags and a clean pair of underwear. We're headed to summer camp, Horror Hounds, where I'm going to spin a campfire tale about one of the most important summer slashers from the 1980s, The Burning. But before we take a deep dive into this film, if you haven't subscribed already, do it now, so you don't miss out on future videos and polls where other Horror Hounds vote for what they want to see next on the channel. The Burning was filmed on a budget of $1.5 million, which was a bit uncommon for a slasher film in the 1980s. Harvey Weinstein, you know, that guy who had his hands on everything from Disney to a lot of the women he's worked with, wrote and produced The Burning as his very first film. In 1979, Weinstein created a 5-page story under the title Cropsey Maniac, which was based on an actual killer in the Staten Island area of New York by the name of Andre Rand. In 1980, he registered the story a full month before Sean S. Cunningham's Friday the 13th was released to theaters. Coincidentally, though, Joseph Ellison had a film in pre-production called The Burning, but quickly changed the title to Don't Go in the House to avoid confusion. In the summer of 1980, a casting call for the film Madman had commenced. A cast member for that film stated her boyfriend was an actor in The Burning. This prompted the team working on Madman to change the entire storyline, as it too centered around the Cropsey legend. This oversaturation of horror films in 1980 through 1981 led to the early 80s slasher boom. The Burning spawned the Hollywood production company Miramax, which was named after Harvey and Bob Weinstein's parents, Miriam and Max Weinstein. Miriam and Max helped with the funding of The Burning. The film was set to be directed by British director Tony Maylam, who was known for his rock music documentaries in the 1970s. Maylam met the Weinsteins, who were rock promoters at the time. Maylam and the Weinsteins secured the special effects services of Tom Savini, who worked on Dawn of the Dead, Maniac, and Friday the 13th. Savini turned down the chance to do makeup work for Friday the 13th Part 2, though, due mostly to a miscommunication with the film's backers, and the fact he liked Weinstein's script for The Burning even more. Tom Savini also took over as writer and director to create a new ending for The Burning, where there was creative differences between the producers and Maylam. The Burning was the screen debut for several cast members, including Jason Alexander, who was later known for his role in the hit TV show Seinfeld, Holly Hunter, who was known for Raising Arizona and voicing the mom in Disney's Incredibles, Brian Backer, who was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Police Academy 4, and Fisher Stevens, who was in Short Circuit 1 and 2, as well as the 90s cult classic Hackers, alongside Angelina Jolie. The Burning was filmed near Buffalo and North Tonawanda, New York, although many of the camp scenes were actually filmed at the William H. Pouch Boy Scout Camp in Staten Island. It's time to gather close to the campfire, campers, while we take a look at what makes this film work so well as an 80s slasher in the breakdown. The film starts at a fictional Camp Blackfoot, where a group of boys plan revenge on one of the staff members named Cropsey, who was responsible for abusing some of the campers. Someone's apprehensive about this plan. The guys sneak over to Cropsey's cabin, who happens to be the caretaker of the camp. The older camper goes inside the cabin with a box. Close call. The guy lights a match, then lights something inside of the box. He places the burning item on the table and heads outside with the rest, where we finally find out...
What's in the fucking box?
Where the hell did they find this anyways? Are these kids grave robbers? Now we know how the movie really got its title. These were actually Tom Savini's legs. Now's a good time to talk about fire safety and why you should never store gasoline inside of a dwelling. For obvious reasons. This stunt went on for quite some time. That stunt you just saw was performed by Reed Rondell, who would tragically die just 4 years later while filming an episode of the TV show Airwolf. Reed was 22 at the time. His father, Ronnie Rondell Jr., was the Burning Man on the Pink Floyd album cover Wish You Were Here. 1 week later, at a very dimly lit hospital, all I can see here is a damn sign and a few windows. A hospital orderly tells a new doctor about the burn ward and how cool it is.
After you see this guy, you'll never want to come back in here again. He's cooked. A fucking Big Mac. Overdone.
Okay, now you're just making me hungry for a cheeseburger. The doctor is cool with not seeing it, but the orderly insists, and this happens. Where we finally get our title card 8 minutes into the film, folks. 5 years later at the same dimly lit hospital, almost looks like the exact same damn shot from earlier, doesn't it?
Won't bring back the past.
Guess who's leaving the hospital? The blurry edges of the screen, while in Cropsy's point of view, were achieved by smearing Vaseline around the camera lens to simulate vision through badly burned eyes. Cropsy follows a hooker home, where he sets the mood, then immediately grabs the hooker, sees a sharp pair of scissors, and proceeds to do this. If you play it slowly, you can actually see how the scissors were just cut off and had no blades at all. Tom Savini was a master of this. Later at Camp Stonewater, a baseball game is in full swing. Nice shorts. Where we meet a couple of horny guys.
Take it home now, as is.
Cropsy upgraded from scissors to garden shears. Looks like the two guys aren't the only ones checking out the ladies here. This buffalo smokes a cigarette. Might as well, right? It's already dead. And one of the campers, Sally, played by Carrick Glenn, showers outdoors. Literally. But she hears a noise. We find out Alfred, played by Brian Backer, was snooping around the ladies' shower. Check out this guy's reaction.
I only meant to scare her.
Alfred gets a tongue lashing,
Well, you sure as hell did scare her.
where he later explains that the other guys were making fun of him, so he felt he needed to do something to prove himself. Todd, the boys' counselor, explains that 5 years prior, he himself got kicked out of camp. I bet I know why. Glazer, the tough guy seen here, gives Alfred a warning.
You stay away from my girl, you understand that?
Apparently, Sally once had a thing with Glazer. A real love triangle here, folks. Todd overheard Glazer's talk with Alfred.
You cause any problems for any kid on this camp, I'm gonna bust your ass.
25 minutes into the film, and threats are already being handed out like free samples of ice cream. Alfred's buddies, Dave, played by Jason Alexander, and Woodstock, played by Fisher Stevens, try to get Alfred over his fear of swimming. So Glazer lends a hand. The guys save Alfred, and Woodstock whips out a piece.
Park 'em.
That night, the boys receive contraband,
Who ordered the Playboy?
Over here.
Dave, did you get my hustler?
while Cropsy lurks outside the cabin and gets a little too close to the window. Alfred tells the guys what he saw. Of course, Cropsy is no longer there, and Todd gets the shit scared out of him. Later at the chow hall, Woodstock realizes he forgot his vitamin E tablets and heads back to the cabin alone. We get an announcement.
Are leaving tomorrow for a 3-day canoe trip to Devil's Creek.
Devil's Creek, huh? Cropsy spots Woodstock. Okay, that's no bueno. Woodstock finds his pills and Todd.
You scared the shit out of me.
Me too. The next morning, the campers paddle up Devil's Creek. Night falls, and Todd tells the campers the story of Camp Blackfoot and the legend of Cropsy, which happens to be right across the lake from their camp.
And he had these garden shears, you know?
Yeah, I know. Fun fact, the director Tony Maylam, who selected the garden shears as the killer's weapon for this film, wasn't happy with how the actor used them. So in many of the scenes, it's actually Tony Maylam himself holding the garden shears.
They never found his body.
Oh yeah? Well, explain this shit. I'm not buying this story, folks.
You're dead!
Jesus Christ. Turns out that was just Eddie. You know, this guy. Karen and Eddie go for a walk, where we are to believe it's still night outside, but the producers of this film actually shot this in daylight using a filter. The two go for a night swim in daylight. Karen doesn't want Eddie.
Get the fuck out of my face.
Cropsy shows up. Karen gets dressed and killed by Cropsy in a poorly lit scene. The next morning, Todd and Michelle, the ladies' counselor, interrogates him about Karen being missing. Two of the girls say all the canoes are now missing. Michelle assumes Karen took the canoes. Why would one person need more than one canoe? That's such dumbass reasoning.
She took one of the canoes back to the main camp, but where are the other 5?
I don't know.
Cropsy did it. Todd tells the group they need to find the canoes ASAP. Glazer blames Alfred for the missing canoes. What an asshole.
Glazer, no!
See what I mean? The team decides to build a raft instead. Glazer can't control his trouser snake, and Alfred likes to watch. That's his thing. Meanwhile, part of the group take the new raft for a spin while the others stay behind, in case the damn thing sinks, probably. While the team paddles the raft like Huck Finn up the mighty Mississippi, they find one of their lost canoes. Oh shit, this isn't going to end well, folks. Fish gets slashed, Barbara gets stabbed in the leg, Woodstock is now an amputee, Eddie gets a tracheotomy, and Diane gets a nasty laceration across the forehead. Is that everybody on the raft? I think I've got everybody covered. Todd and Michelle make out. Can't have an 80s slasher without someone making out. Glazer is a premature ejaculator.
That's all.
Figures. And where there's fornication, death follows.
You stay warm here, because I'm coming right back.
Cropsey attacks Sally. When Glazer arrives back with matches to make a fire for Sally, he finds Cropsey waiting for him. Finally. Of course, Alfred sees the whole thing, but who's going to believe him? Not Todd, that's for damn sure. But Todd follows Alfred anyway. Todd finds Glazer's body and gets knocked down by Cropsey. Cropsey chases Alfred. Alfred shits his pants. Todd regains consciousness. Meanwhile, the raft of death floats by, and Michelle decides to have a peek. Todd pops up. Michelle realizes that shit was a mistake. Woodstock pops up. Woodstock, you're already dead, pal. Everyone is traumatized. This is actress Holly Hunter, by the way. Alfred is still running from Cropsey. Everybody but Todd takes the raft of death back to camp. Cropsey stalks Alfred. The campers make it back safe to camp, where Michelle swaps the death raft for a motorboat to go back for Alfred and Todd. Alfred hides out in the ruins of a building found randomly in the woods. These ruins, by the way, are actually the abandoned remnants of a copper mine in North Tonawanda, New York, near Buffalo. Cropsey finds Alfred. Todd, now armed with an axe, hears Alfred screaming. Todd finds the door to the hideout. Inside the mine, Todd narrowly escapes a runaway mining cart. Todd has a flashback to the beginning of the film where we find out he was actually part of the group that originally burned Cropsey in that prank. Todd sees Cropsey. Tom Savini only had 3 days to complete the look of Cropsey in this film, and supposedly wasn't satisfied with it. I think it's a face only a mother could love, honestly. Todd realizes he brought an axe to a flamethrower fight. Alfred breaks free and impales Cropsey with his own shears. While Cropsey lay on the ground, Alfred and Todd head out of the mine. Help arrives. And Cropsey grabs Alfred. You didn't think he was dead, did you? Of course not. Todd buries the axe in Cropsey's head. Alfred lights his ass up like a candle, where Cropsey dies for realsies this time. The end. The burning originally had an ending that didn't take place in a cave. Cropsey's hideout was supposed to be a boathouse near the lake. When the production team scouted out the boathouse they planned to use, it was full of bats roosting in the rafters, so the idea was nixed as it may pose danger to the cast and crew. Also in the original ending, Todd was supposed to be the final guy left, with Alfred being killed off. Most of the cast members, for the exception of the killer, were wearing their own clothing throughout the filming of the movie. This saved in production cost and kept the cast more comfortable. In an effort to keep Cropsey more frightening on the silver screen, director Tony Maylam cut back on the footage of the character, leaving much of it on the cutting room floor. Carolyn Houlihan, who played Karen, felt very uncomfortable filming this scene, which required her to be nude in front of cast and crew despite stating that she was okay doing this when being cast. She spent several hours in the water just walking around so that the crew could get every angle of her for the film. Although The Burning wasn't a hit in the United States at its time of release, it did end up being the highest-grossing horror movie in Japan. In the United States, however, the MPAA gave in to the reception of pressure groups who were protesting slasher films in the wake of John Lennon's assassination and the growing turmoil of violence in the media. Thus, the film was heavily cut down to receive an R rating. While in the UK, you guessed it, it was part of the Video Nasties list, as Thorn EMI Distribution accidentally released the uncut copy. It wasn't until 1992, though, that it was re-released in the UK, but with the raft and Karen's killing scenes trimmed out. The UK didn't get the full uncut version that we have in the United States now until 2002. What a bummer. I think this film defines what a summer slasher is. Alongside of Friday the 13th, it sets the pace for what other slashers of the summer camp subgenre had to do. Tom Savini is a legend in the horror business, and put on the silver screen what gruesome really does look like. Life isn't filtered, and I don't think horror should be either. I'm giving this film the coveted 5-skull treatment. A damn fine horror film with a damn fine cast. I can't say the same about Harvey Weinstein. Don't forget to check out the weekly poll on the community page and cast your vote for the next film that I explore. Polls typically open the day after I release a new video on the channel and close Saturday at midnight Eastern Standard Time. And as always, thank you for sticking around, Horror Hounds. You guys are the ones that make this channel what it is. Until next time.
Look, I asked for lubricated rubbers. These aren't lubricated rubbers, you understand that?
What am I, Masters and Johnson?